Hello students, and welcome to a new English class. In the previous class we learned about sentence fragments. Today we're going to learn about another important common mistake that a lot of students make in their writing, which is a run-on. Today we're going to learn about run-on. What's a run-on? A run-on is created when two complete sentences or independent clauses are joined together incorrectly or improperly. And there are two types of run-on, as we are going to learn. Let's move on to the next one. The run-on or a run-on has two different types: fused sentences and comma splices. Fused and comma splice. Now let's continue. What is a fused and what is a comma splice? So a fused sentence happens when we join two independent clauses together without any punctuation. If you look at the first example, exercising is important. This is the first independent clause. It can keep your weight down. This is the second independent clause. And if you notice here, these two independent clauses are joined together without any punctuation. This is a common mistake called fused. This is fused. Second example, I picked up my laundry, then I went home. So I picked up my laundry is the first independent clause, and if you notice here, it is followed by the second independent clause, I went home, then is just a conjunction. So the two independent clauses are joined together without any punctuation. This is a mistake. And again, this mistake is called fused. So students have to avoid fused sentences in their writings. And let's move on. So generally speaking, a fused sentence is when you have two independent clauses joined together with a joining two independent clauses together without any proper punctuation or without punctuation at all. Now, for those who don't know what is an independent clause, let me give you a brief definition of an independent clause. It is a clause that has a subject, a verb, and complete thoughts. This independent clause can stand alone, and when we say independent clause, it is the opposite of dependent clause. A dependent clause is missing the meaning and it cannot stand alone. And if you look at these two examples, they have two independent clauses each. Exercising is important. This is an independent clause with the subject exercising, and a verb which is, and together exercising is important makes complete thoughts. Same thing for it can keep your waist down. It has subject, verb, complete thoughts, and the same thing for the second one. I hope this is enough and you learned about what is a fused. Now let's move on to the next one, comma splice. What is a comma splice? A comma splice is joining two independent clauses with just a comma alone. When we join two independent clauses together with a comma alone, this creates a mistake called comma splice. Comma splice. Let's see examples. First one, she started feeling bad on Monday, comma, by Wednesday she was running a high fever. So the first independent clause here is she started feeling bad on Monday. This is the first independent clause, and if you notice here, it is followed by a comma. It's followed by a comma, and then the second clause, she was running a high fever, is the second independent clause. Same thing here. The second example, I picked up my laundry. This is the first independent clause, and it's followed by another one, I went home, and notice here the two are joined with a comma. So joining two independent clauses together with just a comma is called comma splice. Try to avoid fused sentences and comma splices in your writing. Now, how can I let's say fix a comma splice and a fused? What are the ways, or what are the proper ways that I can join two independent clauses? That's what we are going to learn in the next slide. Ways to correct a run-on. We said that a run-on is fused and comma splice, two types. Okay, now number one is add a period. Just put a period and make the two independent clauses that make one sentence as two sentences. I went to the store, period, I bought some fruits. The second option is add a semicolon. Okay, example, I went to the store. I'm using the same example to make it easy for you. I went to the store, semicolon, I bought some fruits. So joining two independent clauses as in number 2 with just a semicolon is completely fine, but not a comma alone. 3. Add a comma and coordinating conjunction. Example, I went to the store, comma, and I bought some fruit. So here we learned that joining two independent clauses together with a comma alone is not enough. We need a comma and a conjunction. And the conjunctions are 7. They go in the acronym FEMBOYS. For, and, nor, but, yet, and so. And number 4, add a dependent word. Okay, somewhere. When I went to the store, comma, I bought some fruits. Now, if you want to keep the comma, just think of a dependent word such as when, okay, at the beginning, and leave the whole sentence with the comma in between as they are. Okay, so these are the 5 ways on how to fix a run-on, and I said that a run-on is a comma splice and or a fused, either or. Now let's summarize. A run-on is a common mistake in writing, and it takes 2 forms. The first one is fused. Fused is joining two independent clauses together without any punctuation. This is incorrect in writing. And the second form of run-on is comma splice. And we said that a comma splice is joining two independent clauses together without with just a comma. And we also learned 5 ways or 4 ways on how to fix a run-on. My advice to you is watch the video as many times as possible and go online and practice. Just go and type run-on practice and do as much practice as you can until you are fully satisfied about yourself, and then try to apply what you learn in your writing. This was Hassan. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.